Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bella.
How are you, man? My glasses are gross.
Good. I'm real good this morning. I don't know why. I just am.
Man, you stole my next question. I was gonna be like, why? And
Oh,
then we could have a cool conversation about it. But you're just like, I don't know why. Don't worry about it. Let's move on.
don't worry about it.
Sounds like my dad. Hey, Dad, why are we moving again? Don't worry about it. All right.
Actually, Mr. James Thorne says that jokingly quite a bit when something absolutely obviously needs an answer. Like, really? Why is that? Don't worry about it.
Oh man, I love that. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, actually, I really don't. I just, certain days you just wake up, your feet hit the ground, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, that was not me today. Good morning, Levi. Levi got a deal this week. Yeah, good job, Levi. Good job. Used his resources appropriately and got a deal closed. So good job for Levi.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Michelle. Good morning. It's so good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. See, like, this gets me excited. Like, I don't ever roll out of bed and my feet hit the floor and I have that Jake Jordan moment of like, today is going to be glorious and epic. I get up and I'm like, I'm all like a curmudgeon. And then I like have to go do all the things that I do in the morning. And then by the time I get here, I'm finally somewhat suitable to be around other humans.
I think we might be Sesame Street, and you are either Oscar the Grouch to start and transform into something else, and I am like Big Bird, and pretty much Big Bird most of the time. Hey guys, how's it going? Cool. Because you're like,
oh man, that's pretty funny.
My trash can move.
I'm the worst, right? When it comes, like, if I even like doze off, I lose all my niceness, right? And it's just pure bad mood siege on, right? It's like I'll be asleep on the couch and Melissa will nudge me and she's like, go to sleep. And then I'm like the guy in the Geico commercial who's like, you fell asleep with your sign again. Like, I do that kind of stuff all the time.
Oh yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like, I'm just holding a journal like the whole time.
Yes, I actually. Hey, Gabriel. Good morning.
Good morning, Gabriel.
Picture you face down next to that Instagram post every night, like with your journal and your like face down on the table.
Oh man!
Oh, I gotta take my picture.
Oh, that's funny. Man, that's really funny. I was sitting at the desk and I was doing some reading the other day, and Melissa took a picture of me, and it looks so incredibly staged. It looks like the most staged thing ever. And she sent it to me and she's like, "This is such a good photo." And I was like, "I'm never going to use this photo." Like, because like I'm wearing the hoodie, I'm sitting there, I'm highlighting, something in a book, and she's like, "No, this is such a good picture." And I'm like, "It looks like the fakest thing on the planet." So I've got this photo. I don't know what to do with it.
Well, I mean, let's see. LinkedIn's pretty good for staged photos.
You seen, hold on. The new Noah Kagan video is the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life, right? His Instagram story was like him making fun of all of these lifestyle marketers who are just blatantly lying and just like copying and stealing from like other people. And but it's him walking around his offices for sumo. And he's like, "Guys, you want to be rich? I'm going to help you be rich. You get a big office. I don't even have anybody working in here." And he's like talking into the phone and doing like the walk and talk thing that everybody does. And it is so funny. So funny. Oh God. I laughed. And then about 20 minutes later, I heard Melissa watching it and she was dying laughing as well. It was, man, so funny. So go check that out. Mr. Kagan. He does his office hours today at noon. So he normally has a pretty big crowd and it's a pretty fun experience. So if you're not doing anything at noon, you should check that out.
Yeah. I love it. I love the laugh. So here, we'll do one more laugh. How about that for going. Last night, I did a little father-daughter time.
Nice.
And here's what that looked like.
The build-up. It's never. I mean, you could have given her a kidney at this point. Oh, hold on. I have to add. 1 second. My fault now, guys. Give me 1 second. Oh my god, that's amazing. Are those? Is that real, or is that like a filter with the oranges?
No, that's real. That's they're little plastic oranges
Okay.
that you put in the fridge, and so
That's why you feel so good today.
there you go.
You got your pamper on.
Facial treatment.
Hey,
every night. I guess I should be doing that more often because I woke up this morning all awesome. So
I tell you what, when the daughter says, "Let's have a spa day," I was the dad for a very long time. It's like, "No, I'm fine." And then earlier this year, and there's a blog post about this. The girls were going to do it, and they asked me, and I was like, why not? We're all locked in here together, and I got a nice little bit of pampering, and Alice really wanted to paint my nails, so we did all of that. And I got a mask and everything,
Yep.
and it was awesome. And I was like, man, why am I holding myself apart from this? This is stupid.
right. Every time she asks, I'm like,
Yeah, I guess.
yeah, man. Yeah. I'm not really that type of guy, but let's do it.
I'm not really that type of guy. I don't like nice things being done to me.
That's right.
Don't
right. I don't like
do
things that
anything
are
soothing.
comfortable. Yeah, I don't like
Exactly.
soothing, refreshing, comfortable things.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that was the thirsty things there.
Yeah. How was the work day of Thursday?
Workday was good. Had a really good meeting with a potential client. I think we're going to close a big package, the full one.
Nice.
So that's a good one. And let's see. Before that, had a really cool meeting with someone, which is kind of a get to know you, but it turned out to be really a good connection. It can be like he could even probably be a mentor of some sort for me.
Oh wow.
Possibly at some point, because that's just kind of how I see him. I don't know if he's, I haven't talked to him about that, but
He's like, Jake who?
yes, exactly. But that's kind of the vibe I got yesterday. So that was really cool to find somebody like that.
Nice.
And then, I knocked out several writing assignments, and I've got more today. I got a sales funnel I've got to write for a client today. Set of
Nice.
CPAs. It's going really cool stuff, right? So you hear he's a CPA, and he has 8 other people working for him. He's in business 8 years, which is pretty cool. That's a pretty nice little pace for a CPA to grow a business.
Mm-hmm.
And he really likes doing business advisory versus like taxes and sale time. That's part of it, right? But he likes to be a partner for kind of that large or small business so that they don't have to do it. He just is kind of their out of house CPA, but is constantly like helping them plan for financial growth and stuff like that. So anyway, it was fun to transform his current, like, hey, we're CPAs, into something that was something that a business could see as valuable. And like when you do any sort of your either life planning or big goal planning or things like that, when you can get behind a big idea for your business, it's cool to see people like light up about their business, right?
Yeah.
You go, oh yeah, this is something I really could get behind and feel good about. So he had some of those moments, which was really neat.
Very cool, man.
Yep.
This might be just me, but I think something is moving on your side. I don't know if it's your like mic boom or something like that, but I'm getting a little bit of feedback over here on my end.
Maybe my coffee, just in case I'm setting it up against the boom mic.
Okay.
All right, see if that changes anything for us.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, and then I also sold my first life planning session over in your group. I just touched the mic that time. That was
there. It is. Okay.
So I sold my first official like life planning session for executives, which is
Nice.
the paid lead generator for the big work.
Nice.
So I'm doing that today, actually, my 2-hour session. So yeah, things are going good. It's been a good week for business.
Man,
maybe that's probably the smile too. It's the facial and then selling work and doing work, and like everything's just kind of floating in an orbit around Jake this week. It's just yes.
Oh man. Cool. Anything else cool from yesterday?
Let's see. I sold 2 pairs of Jordans.
Congratulations, man.
I've got all sorts of good. I just didn't have my gratitude moment yet to realize all the good things that happened this week for me. So
that's the other really good side about accountability, right? Is when you're going over all of that stuff. Oh, I did check those boxes. I did do these activities. I did do these things. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I'm flipping into a new planner. So I think I told you I'm switching out of the ones I've been using into the Don Miller one to support the life planning stuff I'm teaching now. Has a productivity kit to it, and so normally I am every day in that gratitude thing and things like that. So I've been in between planners this week.
Yes, Gabe is correct. He says everything is coming up, Jake.
There you go.
Gabe's new to the scene. Everything always comes up, Jake. Jake just gets it done. That's awesome.
I love it. That's funny.
So I got to meet Lauren Cockrell yesterday.
Oh, okay. How was that?
She's awesome. Like very, very, very awesome. We had a good chat about a client who is looking for a salesperson. So that was a good conversation. I had a conversation with the guy, Jared, and I'm doing this guy is 20 years old in the middle of New Jersey and is doing 50K months on his like e-com product and then his like agency for other e-com products, right? 50K a month at 20 years old. And we got connected. We were chatting yesterday and he already has 3 salespeople. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, what were you hoping I could do? And he was like, coach them. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, we could definitely talk about that. Yeah. And our philosophies lined up like just out of the box. He was like, I don't want high pressure. And I was like, that's not my jam. And we get to have a really cool conversation. And I am working with this team today at 10 a.m. So gonna do an hour. I'm sorry. Yeah. 10 a.m. So we're going to be doing an hour-long session each week. We'll just be talking about what's going on. I'll be talking about the Big 7, all of this stuff, and then trying to reinforce. So that was exciting. Sales Lab was awesome. Shivam and Travis and Joseph were there, and then it was a good day yesterday. We recorded a podcast episode talking about is motivation enough in sales. And while it is a component that is important, like you're not gonna get it done if you're just really motivated to go sell. Like you need some skill, you need a little bit of technique, but the motivation is needed, but it sometimes gets in the way. Is kind of the thing we came up with. And then since we're doing this, I got into an argument about a work thing with Melissa after hours, which is not awesome, right? And it kind of got a little bit heated. It's my fault for sure because I was bringing in like outside knowledge about like the relationship and Melissa and everything into this very work-driven discussion. So yes, right. Yeah. It was funny because we were talking with Erica the other day, and she was helping me on positioning for the landing page, and she was like, "What do you want to call this? Like we need to call it something that really tells like what it is," because she thought that Sales Lab didn't really do a good job of illustrating that it's a practice lab, and I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And then I was like, like what about like a gym? And she just looks up at me and she was like, "No." And then just looks back down and we're just back on it, And I was kind of like, okay, ouch, okay, cool, like that's fine. And then after that conversation, Melissa was like, I wish I could talk to you like that, and I was like, you can just do it, So yesterday we were talking about something, or it might have been the day before, and I said something, and she was like, no, and I was like, okay, and then later on, I made a comment about it and she's like, see, I knew you were mad about it. And I was like, see, I wasn't mad about it, but I'm going to reference it. Right. And whatever, and she's like, well, you didn't do that with Erica. And I was like, well, I don't live with Erica. Like I'm not around her 24 hours a day.
You were mad at it when Erica did it. You just couldn't snap back.
yeah, exactly. I was just as miffed and like a little, Charlie Brown. I was just as like miffed whenever it happened in the original conversation. I just don't have that level of relationship with Erica. So
right.
I thought that was funny. So we got into this argument. It was my fault. And then Alice since Melissa and I don't ever like really argue, which is nice. A stern conversation comes up on her radar, like, oh my god, mom and dad are about to break up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So so we're going back and forth about this thing, and then it was like 7:15 or so, and they'd already eaten, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get some food. So I went and I processed, got the food, came back and apologized to Alice and Melissa. But it was funny because the thing that I wanted to say to Melissa was, you have to accept the same kind of feedback that everybody else does that I work with, right? And that's the hard thing about working with your partner, right? Because there's all of this other stuff that comes into it, right? I don't really think I probably coach Melissa a little lighter than I do like other people on the team, just because I know that there's this whole big relationship thing over here. Not that she requires a lot of coaching. And actually, she had a sales call yesterday. We got to talk about this. She was so nervous.
What?
She was so nervous. I got connected with this woman named Julia Nova, who's like living on a boat since March, right?
Super connector.
Yeah. Super awesome woman. And she needed some help writing some content, and it was in the financial sector, and already had, a bunch of stuff. And I said, hey, Melissa might be able to help you. And Melissa was in like fits. She was like, oh God, I don't want to do this, and everything. And I'm like, you can say no, but you did say you wanted to start helping other people. So this is about as easy as I can make it for you. Like talk about putting a bow on top, right?
Yep.
And so it was so funny because Melissa is, I don't want to do it. And I was like, you got to do it. You said you were going to, and now I made the introduction. It's done. And she was just like, okay. So I gave her some questions to ask, and we kind of went through this process of like, what do you need to do, and what do you need to ask to feel comfortable with what's going to be covered in this conversation. We got to work through it very collaboratively from like that side of it. And so she got on there, and they talked and asked their questions, and everything worked out good. And Melissa's going to be writing for a client of Julia's here pretty soon. So that was really exciting.
So here's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Was she happy with how she performed in the conversation despite the outcome?
Well,
or
so
was it like
so she's not there.
No matter what happens, she sucks, and it doesn't matter if she won.
I think it's like one of those things to where like she was so nervous. It's like a martial arts test. Like you get done with it, and you go sit down, and you're like, did I do everything correctly?
Yeah.
And then if you're really lucky, you've got friends like mine who will mess with you the minute you're done, right? There's this guy named Sean who I love to death, and one of the very first movements is you do this form, and you have to like open your feet up to get into the structure, and it's called the Ichikimi, the goat clamping stance. And so I remember one time early on, I didn't even know these guys, right? And so I go over and I sit down after doing my form, and Sean, he kind of leans forward. He's like, hey, you never opened your feet. So then in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just standing there with my feet together the whole time. Like, what a complete idiot. Yeah. But he did it to everybody. Okay. So Melissa finished the call, and I said, how do you think it went? And she's like, well, I think it went pretty good. And I was like, cool. And she goes, uh-oh. And I was like, what? And she was like, now you're going to coach me. And I was like, only if you want me to. And she was like, okay, what do you got? And I was like, okay, totally fine, right? Here's your feedback, right? When are you talking again? And she goes, well, she's going to email me Wednesday or Thursday. And I said, okay. Did you ask her if it was okay for you to follow up with her on Friday if you don't hear from her on Wednesday or Thursday? And she was like, well, no. And I was like, okay. So what's going to happen when you don't hear from her? And she's like, well, I'm going to be nervous about it. And I was like, exactly. And are you going to be like, I should reach out and communicate with this person who I had a conversation with? And she's like, well, no, that would be very uncomfortable. And I was like, would you feel any less uncomfortable if you set an agreement about it? And she was like, well, yeah, I think I would. And I was like, that's all we're doing here. That's literally the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, that's it? And I was like, I mean, you have to be able to own something, because if you're not taking ownership of any part of the sales process, you're just waiting for other people. You know, like I largely stopped giving my scheduler out to people unless they're like, well, what about Tuesday at 2? No, here's the scheduler. Like let's just find something here. But I have switched to send me your scheduler, right? Because I want the control, right? Because
so let me ask you this. Stop
yeah.
there, right? Because it's a great thought. When you're doing that via DM though, there's a level of control you let go of also, because if they don't respond in the moment, then you've lost, which is fine because maybe they weren't ready or maybe they got distracted or whatever. Because I've thought about that before too. I'm like, maybe I should just get on their schedule, but it feels like I'm giving up control when I do that. Until mine, I control it.
You know, that's fair. How do I feel about that? To me, thinking about this, I've been thinking about it a lot this week, is that it's kind of like when you show up someone, you're like, oh my God, let me give you my business card.
Okay.
You give them your business card and then puff of smoke, they're gone.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So like, that's why I stopped carrying business cards. I don't want you to have mine. I want yours because I'm going to follow up. Right. So the same thing happens here. If I send you my scheduler link and you say, cool, I'm going to check that later. Okay. And then you don't check that later, I'm now caught holding the bag. So what I do, right, in most of my conversations, I was like, hey, do you want to send me a scheduler? Do you want me to send you mine? And people are fine with it. And my gap between like conversation and like Zoom call is less.
I like that. I actually like the version of asking, do you want to send me yours or shall
absolutely I? Right. I give them the choice.
Yeah. But
I'm always aware that like I'm optimizing for the thing that I can own from start to finish. Right.
Yeah, and I think there is a little bit of a subconscious maybe tweak there too, a power play, possibly a little bit by going, you're the one committing to me here because I'm on your schedule. Whereas versus if you're on my schedule, it's like, okay, you can drag me onto your schedule versus I'm actually going to put you on my schedule. I don't know. That's just what I thought of.
Which that's kind of interesting.
They made a commitment to put you in their world versus being dragged into yours almost.
Well, and the other thing to remember is I've never gone to someone else's Calendly meeting, HubSpot meeting, like insert scheduler title thing here, and they weren't there. I go to lots of mine, and people have forgotten about it, didn't get the link, it didn't hit their calendar or anything else like this. So, so since I don't want to do just like a mountain of like follow up and like preemptive stuff and everything else like this, it kind of takes that out of there as well, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, cool, send me yours because I know you're going to show up if it's on your Calendly tied to your account. And I know what's that?
Or at least I'll hear from you because if you can't make it, it'll pop up on your phone and you'll be like, oh, my bad.
Absolutely. Right. So it kind of takes a bunch of boxes positive all the way across the board, right? It's just easier to say, well, here's my link, like go schedule, right? But
and some of that's kind of required, like for example, podcasting, you can't, like you have, like for example, we have all sorts of zaps attached to the calendar, right? That starts processes on our ends to get stuff done. And like Gabriel has a podcast, right? And he sends out links and videos and things like that. And, there are situations where you can't. What?
Well, I was gonna say, Gabe has like asked us to come on the show, and I'm super excited about it. We just have to find the time, and that's on my agenda for today. Super excited, Gabe. Can't wait to do it for real.
Yeah, we got it, and we're gonna.
I need to see this glorious face with some Gabe sparkles on it. Like right. I need that in my life, like so bad.
I'm still sparkling from last night a little bit, so I'll be ready to come in there to get some new sparkles.
Oh man, but you know, it was funny because I had my LinkedIn feed up, and one of Gabe's kind of like things was partially in view, and that the sparkles and that movement and stuff like this, it kept drawing my attention, and then finally I was like, I have to leave this page because I'm not going to get anything done. So Gabe, you're doing a fantastic job of pulling attention, sir. Good work.
Right. Yeah, love it.
Man, yeah. How are you doing for the month as far as your percentage to greatness, sir?
So I'm behind on tracking. It is that is a great reminder because so here's what actually the percentage to greatness tracker did for me this month, outside of the on the nose tracking the things, right? Is I recognized in myself, and I've done this before, but it's one of those things like sales, right? Until you hear a message 7, 8, 10, 12 times, a lot of times it just doesn't sink in. It doesn't hit the spot it's supposed to hit.
Yeah.
I've known this about myself for a while, but I really think I'm at that 7th, 8th, 9th message with myself of if I don't have it in a recipe, I think is the best word for myself, all areas of my life. If I don't have something in a recipe that I can pick up and do, I am the most apt to distraction or flat out defiant. Right? And it's
flat out defiant?
Yeah, like if I don't want to do it and it's not in a recipe, I'm like, I'm not sure what the next step is exactly. I'll have to go find that, then I get distracted, and then I or whatever. Yeah, or like I don't want to do this today, and it's hard, and I'm not here for this, and I don't have to do this today. I'll do it tomorrow. Whatever. So that's what the spreadsheet actually helped me recognize, because the areas in which I don't check off boxes are ones that I don't have recipes set for myself. I think we mentioned this. I was talking to James about this. I have an app on my phone that is a body weight workout app, and literally all I do is hit the button. It brings up the day. It gives me the workout. It does the timing for me. It tells me when I'm done. It tracks it back to my Google Fit monitor. It's all done for me. So my workout schedule is super simple now. I get up and I walk, and then I hit the button on my phone and I do the workout.
Nice. So that's huge, man.
That's the easy button, right? So I'm trying to find easy buttons for other areas of growth for my life. That's actually my end of year focus, just for personal growth.
I like that.
Is to create some easy buttons. So that's what that has done for me. And I guess it was just time, right?
All right. Here's mine for the month. I'm at 61% to greatness. So I've got some yeses and some nos. I've not filled out for today. I kind of track my daily stuff here in the journal, and then I move it to this thing. But so far, doing okay. I am. Hold on. So my work specific stuff is deep work daily, write, prospect, 45 minutes on Facebook, 45 minutes on LinkedIn. And then, so this one here, this be easy going is the thing that I'm trying to work on.
So measure that. How do you measure that?
I measure that. No. I measure that by how often I feel like a gut not gonna do that over the course of a day, and or when I'm just what's the word, indignant for no really great reason, right? So last night, not easy going, right? Fail.
This past week has been a tough one on that.
Yeah, this past week has been very much John is under the weight of just trying to get a bunch of stuff done. So what happens is when the more that I have on my task list, the less human I become. It's just more like, okay, task. So this week we've been trying to get the landing page done. I'm trying to get the course done. I'm trying to prospect again, to get back on the course with all of that. So when that happens, I get a little less a little less patient, a little less easygoing. So
I'm curious on this, because you and I study this stuff a lot, just because we're big nerds like that. One of the concepts is if you set goals for yourself that you fail at consistently, you set yourself up for failure, right? Like if you have something that you fail 8 out of 10 times and you have a big red mark across it, subconsciously you go, I suck at this. So you adjust the goal to something that's a little more achievable, so you at least get to 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, so that there's some success area there. So I was curious, because one of the things that you mentioned, I think I was asking you about this the first week we were talking about that. You were like, I'm at 50 or 60%. I'm like, dang, what's going on? He's like, no, there's things in there I want to be doing. I just don't do them all the time. Like meditate, for example. So you've got a whole bunch of ways to meditate, but it's not your intention to necessarily meditate twice a day, every day right now, right? Because you specifically dismissed that idea. So for me, if that's my chart, I'm either taking meditate off, or I'm changing the goal to make it more achievable. Like meditate 3 days a week, and so put like a blue block and then put yes or no, and make it a weekly thing versus
Yeah.
just because subconscious says I'm failing, and that starts leaking into other goals sometimes.
All right. How do I feel about that? I like to make stuff hard for myself, right? As we've discussed a lot. I do think that there is a motive, like a momentum component to goal setting and working on your stuff. And I for myself, I would agree with everything you said probably like 3 years ago, right? Of okay, I'm just not checking this box enough. I need to get this like off of here because it's just like affecting my mood.
Well, it's not just take it off. It's take it off or
adjust it for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the reason why I like to track multiple goals, so that way I don't get bogged down if I have a couple of like inconsistent days. But at this point, it's just part of the work that I've done is being less like hard on myself whenever I do mess up or whenever I do have a bad day or when I am wrong or something like this. So part of this is just like, hey man, you're a human, right? As much as you don't like, think about it, right? Because we can tell ourselves anything, right? I can literally tell people, oh, I journal every day. And while I'm pretty consistent about it, there are some red days on there, right? And I do enjoy meditating, but like it takes time. And the thing, so when I think about Kung Fu, right? Like I left my Kung Fu school over 2 years ago. So it's like been like 2 years and a couple of months. In my head, oh, it hasn't been that long. Oh, it hasn't been that long since I was doing Kung Fu like very, very, very consistently for long periods of time. And then, oh, wait, it has been 2 freaking years, right? And while like I've worked out and I've trained in other arts and stuff like this, it would be foolish for me to assume that I'm going to be able to do like Kung Fu at the same level that I was whenever I was doing it at that level. And that's why I track, right? To make sure that I'm not talking about myself or telling myself lies that don't actually serve me.
I like that. That actually puts a mirror up to me, I feel like, because I think maybe I tend to track things I know I can win at because I like to think I'm A to A+ all the time. I don't like tracking things that are going to have 8 out of 10 reds. That may be something I need to work on. I maybe need to find something like that. Because I'm realizing that as you're talking about that, like I do challenge myself with hard things, but I also don't track things I know I suck at.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm horrible at something. I will not be putting that on a spreadsheet right now. But that may be the wrong way to look at it. Because if it's something I do need to be good at, obviously I need to track it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fair.
There's probably a line somewhere in there where I need to look at some of that.
Yeah, I think honestly that it's part of all the work this year with like the journaling and really, and we talked about this week, and then I felt a little like odd about it, because I kind of had, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, we're talking about like carving out time for like mindfulness and everything, and we're talking about journaling and meditating, and I kind of had this moment like right here on the show where I'm like, oh dang, like I've kind of built a lot of this into my day, and then like later on I was like, oh, that's going to come across as like bad and cheesy, but it was like this just kind of like gradual buildup, right? Which is not normal for me. I see something, I want it, let's make it as hard as possible, so that way whenever I have it, like I've really got it, right? It's not well John's going to buy a bicycle. It's like John's going to go research. He's going to buy a bicycle. He's going to buy a trainer. He's going to put together a training program. I mean, like this is just how I do everything, right? So the fact that like I'm spending, 2 hours a day on average doing like mindful activity, when that has been like a struggle for as long as I've been able to like see it and read about it, but haven't been able to build it into my life, it just kind of hit me square in the face this week, which was interesting.
Yeah. But like in a good way, right?
Oh, in a really good way. But I think that part of it is like from this tracker, right? And being, right, because it talks about this in the 12-week year. We know this thing to be true, that if you think it's bad, you won't track it, right?
Right.
It talks about in the 12-week year, like track your progress even if it sucks, right? Mm-hmm. And I love that, because you can't improve in a meaningful way if you don't know what the baseline is. You just can't.
Well, it's funny because we were talking about my CPA client earlier. CPAs require you to track everything. So at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the year, they have a record and can figure out if something goes wrong, where it happens. We don't treat the rest of our lives like that.
No.
None of us do. Not to that degree.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Because it's just easier to go look at anything else. Chuck Palahniuk, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but the guy who wrote Fight Club, he wrote this other book, and it was like Stranger Than Fiction, and it was like these like short story ideas that he pulled from the news that he had been kind of like sitting on and wanting to write about, but hadn't done anything yet. And one of the things he talked about was at an alarmingly high rate. I don't remember the percentages. You can go find it out for yourself. But if people go to the dentist and the dentist say like, "Hey, it's not looking good. You're going to lose those teeth." Right? If you don't make a change now, most people just say, I'm already close to it, and make no changes to like their dental hygiene or anything else like this, fulfilling the prophecy that they're going to have to do this. Like it's a very small amount of people who actually put in the work and the effort to correct and like walk that back from like maybe like a 60% indication. Right. So I think about that all the time. Mm-hmm. Right. Because and we do this whenever we get like mad, right? Well, fine, screw it. I just won't do it, Yeah. And it's just like emotionally driven limitation is the way that I think about it, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Momentum. I think momentum plays such a huge role in our lives that we just don't realize how much it plays. Yeah. And one of the things I really liked about Eastern philosophy was the illustrations of flow. Mm-hmm. and kind of things that happen, and so that life is not like this graph of points going up and down. It's actually more like a steady wave that's always in motion. It's just what is the motion happening, and you have some control over that motion, right? Fate doesn't have all the control. You get to control. You get to co-write, your life. Yeah. So
it's funny there because in the Eastern stuff, there's a lot of conversation about like, the Tao and the flow and like go with the flow and everything else. And I don't even know if I've ever even told you this story, but I really wanted to go to work at Chase, right? I'd been kind of poached. I was deep in the interview process, and then I'm going to go meet the investment guy who was upstairs, who was like not a great person. I can't remember what his name is, but you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Right. And so the day that I was supposed to, because apparently they were having a lot of people come on, fail the test and then get fired. So he was kind of like stepping in as like a second point of qualifying. And so he's asking me like what feels like pretty basic math questions in this thing. So, but to get to there, I'm in a hurry, right? Because like I want this interview. I'm emotionally invested. I'm like done with retail, because if I go to a bank, I get banker's hours and I'll be able to do a lot more kung fu. So I'm trying to get out of the garage. Right? Exactly. I was optimizing for not career growth for like most of my 20s. So
optimizing kung fu hours.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. Yep. And so I'm going to go pull out of the garage. I'm trying to shut the garage. And I can't, because the sensor at the bottom of the garage door was blocked, right? And so the house had shifted a little bit and the sensors were just like kind of like not aligned. So I'm over there in a suit and I'm trying to like wiggle this thing that's attached to the wall, and it's a nightmare. And I just get so mad. I turn around and I punch the wall, which is not me. Like I'm not this like super ragey dude, but I was so emotionally invested in that moment. I punch a hole in the wall. I Andy Bernard this thing. And then I go back down and I fix it, and then I get the job and realize, man, I really don't like this job. Really don't like this job. Like, I mean, obviously great things come from it because I now know you and stuff like this, but man, my mindset and mental state, like when I was working in that role, was miserable. Like, man, I remember the mornings of just like coming in and like staring at my feet because I didn't want to be there. And man, it was rough. And I never patched the hole in the garage wall until we moved, because it was always this reminder of like, some things you want aren't really what you want, And then whenever Alice got a little bit older and like she could talk and communicate, she would be, what's this hole? And so like I explained it to her, and then it became her favorite story, right? And she would just go up and tell people, hey, my dad punched a hole in the wall because he was late for a job interview. And I was like, all the stories. You have to pick. You have to lead. You have to lead with that one. Do you even know this person's name?
That's right. What's your worst moment? If they're nearby, that's the one going.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
So, I think about that kind of stuff a lot, right? Because I've done it, and when we're past it and we can look back on it, we see it, right? Like I really wanted this one vehicle, right? A Subaru WRX. It was my dream car. And then I was in a wreck and totaled my Infiniti. And so I went out and I made this whole thing happen. I got Melissa's car refinanced. That way I could get the deal. So that way I could get the rate for this one, because I was just in a wreck in a sports car. And this also one was a sports car. And then I get the Subaru, and it's that car that you love to drive, but you hate to own. It had all of these problems. And then I tapped a corner on a snow day, which is not supposed to be a thing that happens in an all-wheel drive made for snow Subaru like race car, and never drove the same after that. And I was just like, once again, I did everything I possibly could to make this thing happen, and look how great it worked out. Right? Hence the flow, right? And so the next car was just like the most dad thing ever. I was like, I just want like an Altima, like let's just and I think about those two things like quite often when I spend so much time purposely trying to build a lot of control and build things exactly the way that I see them. I'll sometimes be like, hey, might be a hole in the wall. It might be the vehicle. I've got this one pedicle screw from like way back in the day whenever I was working for Al, because it was a demo, right? And I carried it in my car, and somebody was like, "Why do you carry this thing?" Because it's like this weird looking screw, and I'm like, that's a reminder that it could be worse. And they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Could be worse. I could be back trying to like sell to doctors and like hating my life and not knowing any of this stuff, and it could be worse."
That's good. I like that. I like the reminders. I have a couple of those myself. Not quite as entertaining as yours. I didn't punch any holes in the wall, and I did wreck a car, but it was not that. But like, I actually do have an interesting one where I started a consulting business after I left ad agency right afterwards, and that was when I was like really killing it on LinkedIn and thought I owned LinkedIn and could just get any client I wanted, and started a business with a partner, Sonny from Unlearned Show.
Oh yeah.
And it was called Real Life Brand.
Real Life Brand, right?
I mean, that's 2 years ago. It's not that long ago. It's not that far in the review. And it failed fabulously. We had tons of PR and media and no clients. And and it's funny that it was called Real Life Brand. So I do think about that often, that I chose a name that was going to prove me right. This is real life, bro. Why don't you get to work instead of just being on podcasts all the time talking about how awesome you are? So that's what happened with that one.
Man, that's so funny. That man, we're getting into the weeds, guys. So
we're starting the Komodo's coming open a little bit here.
Yeah, no holds barred.
It only took us 8 months to start getting into the stuff people really want to hear. Like, that's good sales marketing. Tell me about when you punch the wall.
Oh man, have I talked about the perfume job on here?
What? You haven't talked to me about the perfume job.
Oh my god. Okay, so since we're sharing embarrassing stories, so this was 2000. I was working at a call center in Carrollton and living like in Hewlin Mall, right? So my travel time was ridiculous, but I'd had this newer Ford Ranger, and so my mom was like, "Hey, could you get a job that's a little bit closer because your sister is going through some stuff? I could use some help." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." So looking through the classifieds, that's how long ago this was. There was an ad for management opportunities, and at 20 years old, I'm like, "Oh, that's got to be me. It's got to be me." So I meet this guy, and it's designer imposter perfume and colognes, right? Like this is the gig. And I was like, okay. But man, this dude is like the worst, like ShamWow motivational, like rah dude ever. He was like, "Yeah, bro, couple of months, you're going to have your own team and you're going to be, and he had the car and, had like the nice clothes. And I was just like, oh yeah. And he was like, man, I like you, right? Like you're young and you're hungry. And so, yeah, we do things a little bit differently here, which just went shoom, just like right past me. It didn't even like hit the radar as something I should be concerned about. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And he was like, man, come back on Saturday. And I was like, what happens on Saturday? And he was like, the rally. And I was like, oh, a rally? All right, cool. Like, let's go. So come back on Saturday. And there's like 200 people at this place. So I'm like, what is going on? And these guys are just running around like making it rain. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is like crazy. But it's like $1 bills. Right. And so then they're like, oh, they're celebrating everybody's like hard successes over the week and everything. And then it's like, okay, guys, like let's build a team so that way tomorrow when we all go out of town, we can go kill it. And I was like, wait a minute, go out of town. And my manager's like, oh yeah, man, no, we're going to send you out of town so that way you're focused on nothing but work. And I was like, okay. And he goes, don't bring a lot of money because I want you to be hungry. And I was like, okay. So he goes, hey, if you drive your truck, you get $100 bonus. And I was like, well, I got a brand new truck. Let's do this. Right. So we get put into these little bitty teams, and my team was going to Lubbock. Right. So the goal was on Sunday, you get up, you drive out to Lubbock, and you spend the week in the city hawking designer imposter cologne and perfumes because you can't patent a scent of natural scents. So Bro, exactly. So the next day, Sunday, we all like caravan out to Lubbock. And I started to realize that maybe I'd made a bad decision whenever we pull up in the parking lot. Hadn't really registered yet. And the guy goes, okay.
To that point?
Yeah, he goes, hey, let me go get the room. And I'm like, the room? Because there's like 8 of us in this like crew that was like sent to Lubbock, because they want you to be away from your family, so that you're focused on work and not like family and friend stuff.
Sure.
And so one guy goes up and gets a room for like all 8 of us. So like people are sleeping on the floors and everything else like this. And then because we'd all been on the road, the first guy has to go to the bathroom like so bad, clogs up the toilet. And then like we can't even call maintenance because we've got 8 people in this room. And Lubbock has a winter storm that like maybe same night or the next night. And there's ice. And if you've not been to Lubbock, it is like a dirt bowl. So it was a mud bowl. Yeah. And we just broke into teams, and you would just literally go to like the busiest streets in town and just walk them. Right. So like if somebody's pumping gas, you're supposed to go up and be like, dang, you smell good, bro. What is that? And then get them to walk over towards your trunk so that way you could show them that you could have, the Tommy cologne for like $15 as opposed to like the $60 or $70. I made it 3 days.
You made it 3 days longer than I would have. Dang.
On Wednesday, I was like, oh, I'm leaving. This is crazy. I can't do this. Like, I'm not comfortable, and I was super shy. And the crew leader was like, well, let's put you on the phone with the boss then. And the boss was like, man, it took a shot on you. He's like guilting me into staying and everything. Yeah. So I stayed one more day, and then I was like, no, I'm leaving. Like this is terrible. So that was my designer imposter cologne thing.
God, that went way further than I thought you were going to go with that. I love it. And stayed that sounds like a drunken college trip to Mexico. That doesn't sound like a job.
So like the crazy thing was my mom had asked me to get a job closer to home. So I took a job that was I was going to be at the traveling every week out of city to like other cities so that way I can be focused on work. And it's a pyramid scam, right? So I make so much, they make so much, they make so much. Man, in the next job after that was the Army. I was like, okay, I can't do any of this anymore. Let's go polar opposite. Let's get a little bit of college money. And we're not in a war. So like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And then, the worst thing happens. Yeah. So,
well, you have sufficiently blown my mind for Friday.
Hey, man. Hey, you are welcome, sir. I love you. I love you. Take all those stories, stoke up all that awesomeness. Right?
Now I know why you called yourself John Awesomehill. get it now. There's context. Yeah.
That was, yeah. God, dude.
I don't even know what to say after that. Like,
man, I can't believe that I've never told you that story before.
Wow.
I've got this one friend. His name's Chad, and we've kind of grown apart over the years. But man, whenever we do like reach out, and just kind of like nudge each other, like birthdays and holidays and stuff, there's always like a barbed Perfume reference, right? Like always. And I'm just like, all right, keeping me humble. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's absolutely coming up again for sure. I mean, but you knew that when you shared it. So.
Of course, right? Like, I mean, learn from somebody the other day was like, man, I'm so excited to like work with you and like learn. And I was just like, man, you're gonna learn what not to do for sure.
That is half of what. That's probably some of the best stuff that you learn from someone.
Absolutely, Michelle. Thank you.
Yes. The next time you hear, we do things a little different around here.
when they tell you that they're going to send you out of the city that you live in, so that way you're focused on work, be a little concerned.
I mean, in the South, when they say we're going to have a rally, it's you should double.
That should have been my first concern.
All right, man. What's Friday gonna look like?
Yeah, so
it's gonna be tame. That's all we know.
Yeah, I mean, it's tame compared to Lubbock. So let's see. I'm coaching this new group at 10 for an hour. We're gonna try that. I've got a coaching call with a private client at 1. Melissa and I have our kind of like weekly kind of stand up to kind of go over all the social media stuff, because she's taking much more of that off of my plate, which I'm super excited about. I started to build up that Tenzin is coming, which I'm stoked about, and I'm finally doing a little bit of like, let's hype this thing up a little bit. So the goal is to post about that every day for the next 10 days, and then launch with Tenzin on the gram and go from there. But I'm super excited about it. I think it'll be interesting, right? Because I don't think that anybody does a really great job of explaining like why all of this, or how this stuff like practically shows up in your life, in your world, just because you're doing it consistently. And I could go down in flames trying to do it as well, but like that is the intention, right? When you're focused on the things that you can control and you're mindful about it, like things are easier, and when not, you got the monkey mind and all these things. So
can I request a print of Tenzin?
Yeah.
A perfume tester?
No.
It will go proudly on my wall. I promise you that. If that shows up some like Christmas, birthday, February,
I got it. I got you.
For me.
I got you. The artist.
Serious. I am so dead serious. When I wake up and I see my whiteboard and I'm looking through my planner, and then I see Tenzin looking back with me with a little wink with his sprayer, dude, I'm having a Friday morning every day. It's just gonna be.
Oh man. The artist is a local guy, and I'm sure that we could totally do that. Man, that would be hilarious. Like, I love it. Mentally, I'm thinking about just like a pile of discarded, cologne and perfume bottles like behind him, and he's just sitting there.
That's right. I would make a layover for Morning Bill that had him up there in the corner.
Consider it done, sir.
Okay, all right.
Oh my god.
So what about the rest of the day?
The rest of the day, we're trying to build the new landing page for Sales Lab, so we can tighten up the processes around that. I'm changing the pricing on it because Erica told me that $100 a month was just like stupidly cheap, and I was what'd she say? Something that just kind of made me realize that I was being an idiot, right? Because if I have it normally priced at like $100, it's going to be hard to bundle it in a way that like has got like additional value and stuff like this. So the pricing on that is going to be $250 a month. So like, it's not going astronomically high. I do think there's value there, but I was trying to build it so that way it's like hey, like just impulse buy, which would have bothered me anyway, right? Because I don't want people to pay for it and then not show up. But I was trying to build it in a way so that way people could buy it and then not show up except whenever they need it. And
right. Well, and anytime there's time with you, it needs to be higher priced, right? Like personal time with you.
Yeah. So we're going to be changing that. I still have some content for the course that I'm not through yet. So I've got a lot of blocking and tackling and things like this. I've got a window from 2 until 4:30 that I'm going to be working on that stuff. And yeah, I've got my morning deep work session as well to work through some of that.
Cool.
What about you?
I've got 9 o'clock. We do our normally Friday morning game time with the court team. I've got 10 o'clock. We are going to be. I've got some coaching practice going through some of my own material. So I do a practice every Friday morning with a group of other coaches just to get reps in because reps matter.
Legit. Reps matter.
And then 11, I'm meeting with a buddy of mine, catching up with super connected guy. He had knee surgery, so he's stuck at the house. So I'm gonna drop by and be socially distant, but hang out with him for a little bit. And then 1 o'clock, I get one of those lunch club things I told you about. So I'm trying out this thing where they match you up with like people to see. So that'll be at 1. We'll see how that goes. 1:30, I've got my first paid hero on a mission.
Yeah, boy.
That's from 1:30 to 4. They're about 2 to 3 hours. Because it's a workshop. It really is.
Yeah.
And with anything more than one person, it's really 4 to 5 hours because you have multiple people going through and discussion, things like that. So, and then after that, that puts me post 4 o'clock. Then somewhere in there, I have to work in some sales emails I have to write today. So I may be post 4:30 just because I got all this other stuff in. But that wasn't one of my bill bets, so I'm good.
Yep. Okay. Well, awesome, man. I've been racking my brain for like trying to find just some meaningful like bill bets because I feel like I'm just kind of like checking the boxes. So the goal is to spend some time over the weekend to try to calibrate and push myself, but also do it in a way that is not just like a big number just for the like sake of having a big number, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Impact over attention.
There it is. I've actually been thinking the same thing because I've had the numbers of reach out and it just doesn't feel impactful to me. It feels like I'm checking a box to reach out to people. So how can I make my reach outs more significant, more personalized, more impactful so that the work itself feels like it's better. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. There's always another data point that you can look at, right? I mean, we focus a lot on like the initial counts, but that has to resolve to something that's also meaningful, right? If I make 150 asks and nobody joins, those 150 asks were not great, right? So how do you adjust it, right? And what data point are you looking for? So,
well, I think like quality of inputs is an advanced metric that a lot of people don't get to necessarily. So it's great. You have to measure inputs, but then you have to start measuring the quality of inputs.
Well, and then all of a sudden you're just chasing busy and doing like the Gary V like hustle 24/7 365 crap that like everybody talks about, which is not helpful and is more toxic than
stress. Yep.
Well, cool, Bill. Well, let's chat over the weekend and hold each other accountable because this is what we do. And like, let's get some good bill bets for next week that we're both happy about and also like eager to work towards. So. Yep.
And we'll get a time with Gabe synced up too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have so much sparkles on my face. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome.
All right, man. Have a good day, Bill. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you, Levi, for coming and hanging out with us. This is awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it this morning, Michelle. It went a little off the rails, but apparently that's what people like. So, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it a lot. Have a good day, Bill. And we'll catch up soon. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Bill.